we talked about the ATF, the head of the ATF, and who Trump might pick. And we still have a lot of time. Trump's not even in office yet. But it looks like a guy named Blake Masters. He appears to be the guy that Trump wants to head for ATF. He's a businessman who made a living in corporate finance and venture capital specifically. He got his law degree from Stanford, which I'm not sure if that's good or bad. But you know what I did find out about Stanford is, so Stanford, there's a lot of left. I think Chelsea Clinton went to Stanford, right? Stanford, it's in California. It's in the Bay Area. It's pretty south, but it's in the Bay Area. But I've actually found out. So you'd think that it might as well be like it's always in competition with Berkeley, like Cal. They're always So you'd think that it is a far left wing university, which it is. Without doubt. There's a lot of left wing professors and people that come from Stanford. But in doing research up in the Bay Area for an expansion, something similar to what San Diego County Gun Owners is down here, found out that Stanford actually has a fairly strong right of center group of professors and students.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. They're kind of the counterculture.
Interesting.
At Stanford. So anyway, so it could be good, could be bad, but he graduated, that's where he went to law school. He appears to be rock solid on the Second Amendment, but the only reason we know that is because he ran for office and made some videos. So that's all we have to go on. It's all rhetoric. He hasn't actually done anything, He hasn't served in office. He hasn't, headed an initiative. He hasn't, done any actions. He's just said a bunch of words is really what it boils down to. Unlike our favorite, Brandon Herrera, right? He's actually done things. He's actually had skin in the game. And
love Brandon.
So I don't know. Blake Masters appears to be, an okay pick. I don't think he's a Brandon Herrera. I think he has some strengths and he has some weaknesses, but I don't know. I'm kind of a glasses half full guy. Now, he does have a little bit of controversy around him. The most controversial thing that Masters has said is when he was running for Senate in Arizona, and by the way, he lost to Giffords, the anti-gun guy, the guy that he's actually an astronaut or was an astronaut, and he's married to Gabby Giffords, who was the victim of an attempted murder. And they set up an anti-gun organization, and then he got elected in Arizona. She was a congressperson in Arizona, and now he's the the federal senator from Arizona, which is not good. How did Arizona elect the head of a anti-gun group?
Great question.
As senator, right? Because things aren't always as they seem.
Right.
Things aren't always left and right. Things aren't always red and blue. Things aren't always pro and anti. Anyway, so while he was running to be the next senator in Arizona, he said this was USA Today in an interview. They were talking about gun violence. And while campaigning, he said, quote, "It's gangs. It's people in Chicago, St. Louis shooting each other. Very often, black people, frankly, and the Democrats don't want to do anything about that." Now, the reason that's controversial is because obviously he injected race into that. And if you go out there and look at people attacking him for saying that, they leave off that, and the Democrats don't want to do anything about that. The point he was making was, look, we have to do something about the fact that there are a lot of inner city, particularly minorities, particularly males, 15 to 40, who are living a lifestyle where they've decided to be professional criminals and used guns to kill each other.
And he's highlighting the problem, which is not that.
He's highlighting the problem. So
right.
He gave them an opportunity to use his words against him without, addressing the actual point, which is par for the course in politics. But if you're at the water cooler and someone says, "Well, I hear he's a racist," Blake Masters, he said some racist stuff. What he said was about quote unquote gun violence in a USA Today interview is, it's gangs, it's people in Chicago, St. Louis shooting each other. Very often, black people, frankly, and the Democrats don't want to do anything about that. I want to help everybody. If someone's living in a situation where they feel their only out is to be a professional criminal and carry a gun, I think we should help. Okay, that's the update on the possible next person for ATF. The final legal brief in the Gray versus Jennings Second Amendment case before the Supreme Court was filed. This is an assault weapon and magazine ban, so-called assault weapon. Yeah, I made the air quotes, in the state of Delaware. It's actually, this case is one of three possible cases that the Supreme Court might actually grant cert. What does grant cert mean? It means they might hear it. If you go to sdcgo.org/lawsuits, we actually have a terminology guide, and it'll tell you things like what does it mean to grant cert, and that means that they'll hear the arguments. This is in the Third Circuit, and in the briefing there was a lot of talk about irreparable damages. So the pro Second Amendment side was, basically saying, hey, it's the right to keep and bear arms. It's not a second class right. Of course, it includes extremely popular semi-automatic rifles, kind of the usual standard Bruin argument. And then the other side was basically saying, well, there's really what are the damages here, which is kind of interesting. It's a really weak argument. They were basically saying, how can there's no monetary number that you can put on damages. So what exactly are the damages? Just because they can't own the toy that they want to own, I'm paraphrasing, they didn't actually use the word toy, but that's how dismissive they were. Are there actually damages? And of course there are. Of course there are damages when your natural rights are infringed upon. And then the last update, I thought this was interesting. Attorney Beck, we've had him on. He's right here in San Diego, and I wanted to pull this up. He had a little update that I just wanted to bring for everyone, which is coming up slowly.
Post on his Facebook.
Alan Beck, great guy. He said, it's been about 2 months since we filed the request to have our challenge to Hawaii's sensitive places law heard by the en banc court. This is the lawsuit challenging Hawaii's prohibitions on where you can carry a handgun. So it's very similar to SB2 here in California. So far, we've heard nothing from the court. Due to the amount of time that has passed, I suspect this means the en banc petition will be denied. But a sizable number of the Ninth Circuit judges are unhappy with that decision and are writing a dissent to voice their disagreement. That's good news. Dissents like these serve as a message to the Supreme Court that it should take a case. If not this case, a case. If I'm right, this is Alan speaking, the next step is to petition the Supreme Court for review. Petitions cost a sizable amount of money because of the specialized printing and formatting costs, which need to be outsourced to a special printing company. We're getting close to raising the money, and we need to file the petition due to the generous donations of Hawaiian gun owners. I'm hoping one more push during the holiday season will take us over the top, et cetera, et cetera. So go look up his, Give Send Go. So GIVESENDGO, and look for his case.
Yep. .com.
Yeah, .com.
You think a permit's hard to get in California. Hawaii is even more difficult.
It's even harder. Yeah. It's even harder. Well, both have gotten much better since Bruin, but You're right. It's still much harder. But check out Attorney Alan Beck on Facebook. You can see the link there. He is a great guy. He's a warrior. He's extremely smart. He's extremely active, and he's a really, really good dude. I wanted to give you that update because he deserves it. Okay, and that is all you need to know this week.
All right, that's our legal and legislative segment.